And the title of it is As Good as Any and Better Than None. And for those of you who know me, have heard me use this phrase on many occasions. And what you might not know is that I've not always felt this way. While I've never had an issue with thinking that I'm better than anyone, my difficulty has been in accepting the fact that I'm as good as anyone. There's some of you who are old enough, are young, are at the age where you would remember the 1970s self-help book, I'm Okay, You're Okay, about transactional analysis. And for parts of my life, I was stuck in the model of, you're okay, but me, not so much. And there's been times in my life when I've experienced a lack of self-acceptance. You see, I would often compare myself to others on any number of criteria, and in doing so, I assign myself a lower status. And my talk tonight is a perfect example. You see, when I was putting this together, I had all these things that I thought I'd share, but as I began to put the talk together, I felt this sense of self-doubt that began to invade my thoughts. And I don't know whether it was the few sips of my evening scotch or the fact that I stepped away from it for a while, but I began to understand the source of my difficulty. And I'm pleased to say that what started with feelings of uncertainty turned into a moment of clarity as I came to the realization that my task should focus on my understanding rather than try to proclaim any universal truth. Good as any and better than none. These 6 words are my mantra, my gospel, my spiritual guide, and they provide my recommended daily allowance of humanity. This evening's talk is more memoir than empirical data, and certainly more philosophy than fact. My talk is about how I choose to view and participate in this wonderfully complex experience we call life. Now, before I go any further, I do need to clarify a few things. I do believe that I'm better than mean people. I know that I'm better than criminals, but however, I'm not better than anyone who has a different opinion about anything. And while it's not a conscious thought, I start most days secure in the knowledge that I am in fact as good as anyone and better than no one. As I told a friend earlier this week, it's about finding that proper balance of confidence and humility. And I'm well aware that that doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's incredibly liberating. I find I'm able to embrace and maintain this philosophy as a way of life, in part because of my community. And it's filled up with folks, as many of you are here. And you've seen, by my observation, you embrace the tenet of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have do unto you, which is a spiritual concept in nearly all the world's 9,000 religions, and really a pretty damn good bit of advice. Now, one could ask why I've chosen to live by this philosophy. I do it for several reasons. I found that treating others with respect and common courtesy really isn't all that difficult, and far more often than not, I receive that same treatment in return. I'm comfortable with differing points of view. If I want others to respect my views, then I am morally and karmically, I know that's not a word, but I like to use it, obliged to treat others the same. And I think it's quite presumptuous of me to think that my way of life, my values, my thoughts, and my passions are valid for anyone other than me. I'm comfortable in respecting the rights to opinions, respecting others' rights, in respecting the right of other opinions without having to accept those opinions as my own. Now, it's important you know I'm not above judging people. However, my judgment is based on individual behavior, not political party, not religion, not gender or race. I feel compelled to eschew the use of labels and the status that they imply. Now, one could ask what motivates me to embrace this particular philosophy. I can honestly say my reasons are many. I recognize that social fragmentation exists, but I refuse to participate. Belittling others or assigning them a lower status does nothing to enhance me. I chose to focus on similarities rather than differences. As I see it, everyone loves someone, fears something, and has lost someone. And I found that my life is much more meaningful when I live my values rather than just verbalize them. If I value fairness, I must be objective. If I value kindness, I must practice compassion. and I feel it is my moral obligation to treat everyone with dignity, and I see that as a social investment. I have within me the desire for harmony and social kinship and the inclination to cooperate. And my conscience requires me to give others the respect I want for myself. Now, putting this talk together has helped clarify my beliefs and strengthen my resolve to treat others as I wish to be treated. I've learned that if I focus on similarities rather than differences, statuses become more equal and interaction more balanced. I've learned to challenge self-imposed absolutes. I found affirmation of my philosophy in the writings and speeches of the Dalai Lama, and I'd like to share a few of those gems of wisdoms. We can contribute to making the world a better place. The human capacity to care for others isn't something trivial or something to be taken for granted. Rather, it is something that we should cherish. Compassion is a marvel of human nature, a precious inner resource, and the foundation of our well-being and the harmony of our societies. If we seek happiness for ourselves, we should practice compassion, and if we seek happiness for others, we should also practice compassion. If each of us can learn to relate to each other more out of compassion, with a sense of connection to each other and a deep recognition of our common humanity, and more importantly, teach this to others, I believe this can go a long way in reducing many of the conflicts and problems that we see today. To help us bring benefit to others through our words and actions, it is useful to cultivate an attitude of sympathetic joy in others' achievements and good fortune. This attitude is a powerful antidote against envy, which is not only a source of unnecessary suffering on the individual level, but also an obstacle to our ability to reach out and engage with others. As human beings, we are all the same. We have this marvelous intelligence, which sometimes creates problems for us, but when we are influenced by warm-heartedness, it can be very constructive. Now, in closing,